Paul Stratton, welcome to Landlord Confidential.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me introduce you to the audience. So, you're a son, a husband, a father, a rodeo roper, an entrepreneur, the owner of Stratton Home Inspections, a developer, a landlord, the office comedian, and a good guy.
Boy, you're making me sound really good.
We get plenty of laughs around here out of you, that's for sure.
What did I miss?
Nothing, just my height.
6'4", 6'5"?
5 foot. I'm kidding.
Well, so we're having you on today as a home inspector. So,
Yeah.
what got you started in home inspections?
Gosh, it's funny. I owned a landscape company up in Utah, and one of my brothers said, "Hey, you should be a home inspector with your construction background. That'd be a great thing." And I didn't even know what it was. 18 years ago, I didn't know what a home inspection company was.
Mm-hmm.
So I researched a little bit and thought that would be a good fit, and that's kind of how I got started up in Utah, actually.
That's such a great background to come from the construction industry, where you've seen how things are built, when things go wrong, and what the aftermath of that is. So, how have you used your construction experience in your inspection career?
Well, my dad, he was an electrician, and all my brothers, for the most part, are electricians as well. So I kind of grew up in the electrical trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just having that background in construction and being in homes that are being built and then doing the electrical and all that, it just helped me see what goes into construction
Mm-hmm.
and what goes into building. And so with that background, especially electrical, it really helped me a lot to ease into the home inspection industry. At least I had some knowledge of construction.
Yeah, definitely. What's the licensing and certification process look like for a home inspector?
So it varies state by state. Like Utah, you didn't have to be licensed or anything. You could just go do it. And so here in Arizona, it actually requires that you do a class, which is, I think, 80 or 90 hours of education.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, you have to get parallels with another inspector. You have to have 30 of them.
Oh, wow. Meaning
Yeah.
like you do like kind of a
Meaning,
ride-along?
Like you do a ride-along with another inspector. They charge you anywhere from $100 to $125 each ride-along because
Oh, okay.
they're on the line for your education as well. And it's just hard to train somebody when you're doing inspections anyway.
Yeah.
So on top of that, you do a state and national test, and the process takes anywhere between 4 months to a year, depending on what your time.
Yeah, how
schedule
aggressive
is.
you are with it.
Yep.
Wow.
CE required on that too? Do you have to continue education? Or?
CE credits are not required. However, if you're an affiliate of like ASHI, which is American Society of Home Inspectors, they require CE classes,
Mm-hmm.
20 hours, just like the real estate, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so each year I do CE classes.
Yeah. So when you got licensed here in Arizona, did you immediately hang your own shingle and start your own business, or did you work for someone else for a while?
No, in fact, I almost wish I would have worked for somebody else because I made a lot of prima donna mistakes when you
Rookie
start out.
mistakes in the
Yeah.
beginning.
But I just started out on my own and just started doing inspections. I was lucky to get one inspection a month, if I was lucky. And then I met you doing property management. I was doing just any side job I could. And yeah, we met like 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And when you were doing property management for a company. And so when I did have a home inspection pop up, I was able to go do it and then continue knocking doors intermittently.
So that was mostly like referral based in the beginning, or you were actually out knocking on doors?
I was actually out knocking on doors, and thank goodness I had a few real estate agents that I got to know that had some trust in me. And that's kind of how I got the ball rolling.
And how long were you doing home inspections in Utah before you had moved down here?
Less than a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And were you just working for a company there, or were you doing the same thing on your own?
No, like in 2008, I started doing it, and it was actually taking off pretty quick up there.
Yeah.
And then the recession hit in 2007, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it carried into 8, 9, and 10. And I lost my landscape business. I lost my home inspection business up there, and I just moved back here and started completely over.
Wow. Tell us, like, what does a home inspection look like as you go into a property? What's entailed in that?
So home inspections are basically an overall look of the condition of the home that you're purchasing. And for nowadays, you're spending, what, $500,000 on a home that was maybe $150,000 5 years ago. And so when you're spending that kind of money on a home, you want to know what the condition of the home is. And so it's very beneficial to the buyer to know exactly what they're buying so that they're not incurring cost as they move in because they didn't know about an unforeseen condition.
Yeah.
So we're looking at like structural that we can see, And a home inspection is what you can see at the time of the inspection. We can't foresee the future, or we can't see inside walls. But we're looking at structural, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roofing, appliances, all of that.
And you're like actually running water. You're testing drains. Like you're not just doing
Oh, yeah.
surface level checks. You're actually turning appliances on.
Yeah,
and-
we've got to run stuff to know if there's leaks or if there's proper drainage, or if lights are working, appliances are working. And
Yeah.
so,
I'm sure it varies. Obviously, like you have a small 1-bedroom house compared to a large 5-bedroom
Yeah.
home. But like about how long does one of these home inspections
So-
take?
like 1,000 square foot home or a 1,500 square foot home would take us about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then we like to walk through the home with the client as well after our inspection. So altogether, an average home would take us about 3 hours.
Okay. So at the end of that, you're doing a walkthrough with the buyer.
Yeah,
and
which
just
is
advising
huge
them.
because it gives them another opportunity to look at the home.
Mm-hmm.
And it also gives an opportunity to learn about the home and then also see what we've found
Sure.
in the
Yeah.
inspection.
You allow them an opportunity to ask questions.
Yeah,
during
they're,
that time.
absolutely. They're paying $400 and our time is theirs, And so when they're paying $400 for an inspection or more, it's just, I want to make sure that they get all their questions answered.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you're doing a very thorough inspection, but there's only so much you can do there too. Like, are there any additional things that folks should have inspected that you're not
Yeah.
generally taking care of?
So in the state of Arizona, we have what's called the standards of practice. It's issued by the state, and we have to adhere by those standards. And so there's certain things that we don't inspect, such as security systems, sprinkler systems. We can't see inside of walls. We're not operating surround sound systems, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, anything that we can see, if there's an issue or especially safety, we're going to notate on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And even small cosmetic things such as a breach sill and a window, those can add up if you have multiple windows. We comment on windows, all of that stuff.
Wow.
So you're providing a summary, educating the buyer, and then it's up to them to make an informed decision on what they're going to ask for repaired in the transaction. And if they want to
Exactly,
move
and that's
forward.
where the real estate agent comes in, because the real estate agent can guide them through that process of writing up the BINSR. So
Yeah.
they know exactly what they want to ask for, if they want a credit back. And our job is just basically to give them the information they need to make an informed decision on whether they want to move forward or
Right.
not.
Yeah. When you call out an issue that may need more of an expert opinion, do you refer out other people to come out and give even deeper analysis of homes?
Yeah, because sometimes somebody will say, hey, so do you know a good HVAC guy? I know you found some issues with the air conditioning system. Do you know a good contractor? And we'll give a few names here and there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if they have a guy, I'd recommend they use the guy they trust,
Mm-hmm.
but we can give numbers out as well.
Phoenix is a large city with a really large horizontal footprint.
Right? Yeah.
What's the service area for Stratton inspections?
So we do all of Maricopa County. I go to Payson. I'll go
Going
to
up north.
Prescott. I'll go to Tucson sometimes. I've gone up to Show Low and Snowflake. So I'll cover the surrounding areas, but all my other inspectors, they cover pretty much all of Maricopa County.
And how big is your team now?
So I have 11 inspectors.
Wow.
Went from just me when I met
Yeah.
you, Travis, to 11. And it's been fun to grow it, and
Yeah.
it's been neat. Yeah.
What's that transition been like for you from being a solo operator to now a leader of 11 people? Like,
And that's just inspectors, right? You
that's-
probably have
that's
folks
just
in the office
inspectors.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to a point where I was doing like 8 a week by myself.
mm-hmm.
And I thought, if I want to grow, I've got to be able to go market. And I can't market if I'm out inspecting. And so I hired a guy, and I went through the whole learning curve of hiring the right people. That was interesting.
Made a few
But
bad.
I know, right? I learned to hire slow and fire fast. But once I hired another guy and could give him half of mine and at least do 4, then I still had somewhat of an income coming in, because a lot of that income goes to him,
Yeah.
Then I could go out and market and grow it. And so it was just a one-by-one basis. And as soon as I got busy again, I'd go hire another person and just keep the ball rolling that way.
Yeah.
And what does that onboarding process look like? How do you bring these inspectors on, and how long before you're turning them loose on their own?
Yeah, so I used to train, to get them licensed. And now I realize I'd rather have somebody that already is licensed, that's been in the industry a little bit, so I can still train them the way I want it done,
Right.
but they still have that background and that knowledge of what a home inspection is.
So they're already
And so-
certified, they
so
have
it
some
makes-
experience.
It's so much easier, yeah.
Do you post ads? Is this mostly referral based? How do
It's
you find your
referral
new
based, like,
employees?
you know, we market to the public, we have relationships with agents. And agents, you know, they have to refer 3 different companies by law. They have to do that, but, mainly just word of mouth and we sponsor a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Do a lot of classes, CE classes, things like that.
Yeah, obviously a big team, and I think a lot of when you have a big team like that, the emphasis becomes on company culture and keeping the team cohesive
Yeah.
and together. And like we share a building. We're right next to your
Right.
office. I hear Jill and Tiffany on the phone all the time. Like they're always so friendly and personable and helping. I hear them chatting. They seem to get along great. Like, how do you build such an amazing company culture?
That's one thing I learned is you can't train personality. And so I've been lucky enough to find the right people. Tiffany is amazing. Like my office staff is second to none. And honestly, without the inspectors I have and without the office I have, I would just be a solo inspector. I'd be just a one-man show. And so without them, I don't know what I'd do because they are the Stratton inspection team. They
Yeah.
really are. And so it's been huge growing that.
I know I get inspired at least once a month when you have your team in here, and you have it in this room. You have your monthly meeting, is what I'm assuming it is, and it always sounds like it's a fun time. Tell the audience what that looks like.
Yeah, so we'll have a meeting about once a month, and where we all come in here, and it's nice to get the team together because you bond again. You know, we're so busy, we don't see each other as often as we'd like, and then it's also a time for us to, you know, kind of educate ourselves on what we can do better. Talk about the growth, talk about new industry standards, talk about new construction, things like that, things we're seeing now that we didn't see 10 years ago. And so it's really good to get the team together and collaborate and to build.
Yeah. What are some of those new trends you're seeing?
In the inspection industry, for instance, we've decided to do sewer scoping because we're finding a lot of issues with sewer lines. And if a person doesn't get their sewer line scoped and they run into problems after the inspection, usually it's the agent and us who they're calling first. And so with the age of homes, older homes, we're finding a lot of damaged sewer lines, roots in the sewer lines. So we do a lot of sewer scoping. Modern day technology, thermal imaging is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we use thermal cameras where we can actually see somewhat inside walls and attic spaces that we couldn't see before to see if there's missing insulation or moisture leaks. So those are some things, new things that we've incorporated into our business.
Yeah.
But we've been doing sewer scopes for the last 3 years, and it's been a great service.
Yeah.
And that's just an add-on.
And
to
that's
the
just an
typical-
add-on. Yep.
You also mentioned new construction, like
New construction. So it's funny. I used to do new build inspections, and I'm not the new build guy. I lacked with new builds. So my forte is older homes and things like that. So I went out and hired a new build specialist. He actually has 25 years of new build construction. I believe he worked for Pulte and some other home builders. And so all he does is my new builds. So when I talk about new builds, I'm talking pre-drywall.
Okay, so he'll come in before they put the
Before they-
drywall up.
so that he can see the exposed electrical,
Yeah.
the exposed plumbing,
Yeah.
the exposed HVAC, the exposed framing.
Yep.
And not that anything's wrong with the builder, but no home is perfect. And when you have so many trades in there, some things are going to get missed or not done properly. So new builds are huge.
Yeah.
They're very important.
If you had to call out a couple of the best new builders out there, who would you say is building the most high quality home?
Pulte's good. Pulte's good. Richmond America's pretty good. And some others. I can't think of the names right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, those two.
What are the most common things you find with new builds? Like what are builders doing wrong?
So it could be anywhere between not flashing windows properly prior to stucco. We're finding staples that are stapled too tight up against Romex wiring. It's biting into the wiring. We're finding nails and screws in the water and sewer lines, unsquare walls. And typically what happens with walls that are not square is that's more prone to cracking drywall. Things like that, some small structural things that show up after you've drywalled.
Yeah.
I think most folks wouldn't even think to inspect a new build, right? You expect it to be perfect, so it's good
Well,
to
yeah,
know
and
you-
they often say, well, we're getting inspected by a city official.
Yeah.
Well, the city officials are so inundated as well, and they're only at the home maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And they're looking for more code violations.
right.
And we're there 3 to 5 hours looking for blatant defects.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference.
We deal with a lot of new builds too, and we see them, they're brand new, and then we immediately see some settling issues. Like, what do you see out in the field on these new builds and settling? And what do you recommend to home buyers and what they look for?
So first, look for a home inspector that does new builds because they can give that list to the builder, whatever they find. But you know, just look up a little bit. Make sure you look up. We just had one the other day where they had run the ductwork through the exterior wall into the porch area. And most times the porch area is not insulated. So the ductwork went through into the porch area and then back into another room that they couldn't have gotten to and without going through the porch area. So because they went through the porch area, they weren't going to insulate that area. And once we brought that up, they went ahead and insulated it because the ductwork's in that
Yeah.
void.
Makes
It's
sense.
not insulated.
Another thing you see popping up a lot are solar systems now.
Solar systems,
More-
right?
Government's offering more rebates on those. Obviously, we live in the Valley of the Sun here. It makes sense to harness that. Is
Right.
that you guys look at?
So solar systems are not part of our inspection. I usually defer that to either the company that installed it, whether it's leased or owned, and we just defer that. We don't even look at those. It's hard to inspect the roof too,
Yeah.
with solar on it. And the only way to really inspect the roof with the solar system on it is to make sure we get inside the attic access to see what's going on underneath.
Yeah. Do you ever do home inspections for current homeowners? Say they've lived in a property and they just want an expert to come out and look at their property. Do you offer that service? Or
Yeah,
do you?
especially on a pre-listing. Like,
Oh, okay.
say you want to get ready to sell.
Yeah.
Some people will call us. It really takes the headache out of negotiations because they already know what to expect.
Yeah.
They're not just getting hit with a Binzer item on stuff they didn't even know about.
Yep.
That makes sense.
And they're able to take care of some of these things and then go to the seller and say, hey, listen, I had my own home inspection done, and these are the list of things that we repaired.
Yeah.
And so it kind of helps the seller quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's worth their money.
That's a great point. I would love to be able to give that to any potential buyers out there and say, hey,
Yeah.
you just had an independent third-party home inspector. Here's what they found.
Right.
Yeah.
And most likely the buyer's gonna get their own inspection anyway, which they should, but at least they know the homeowner's being proactive
Right.
and being honest
Yep.
and disclosing everything. As we know in real estate, disclosure is everything, right? They have to disclose. So when they know about something, they have to disclose it. So that pre-listing inspection can really help them out.
Yeah. What are your plans for growth in 2024?
So we would really like to expand even more outside of Maricopa. I know I go and do some of these out-of-town inspections, but it's far and few between. So I'd like to get busier in these more rural areas like Payson, Prescott, Flagstaff. Some of those areas I'd really like to expand into there.
That way you can spend the summertime up north
I
and
know,
not have to
right?
worry about the heat at all.
Right? I can do those in the summertime. I guys can stay here.
Yeah, maybe open up Nogales.
What's that?
Open up Nogales.
Nogales? Yeah, right?
You mentioned in the beginning, like all of your new business was from knocking on doors, and obviously you've expanded since then. Is that how you've continued to growth, or?
Yeah,
grow?
and it's been nice because I've developed some really good relationships with brokerages, and it's nice to be able to get in there and teach a class on inspection stuff, and then build a relationship with agents. Whereas before, like I was just going in and off the cuff talking to whoever just to see if I could get in and bring some donuts to
Yeah.
talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we still want to expand. We're marketing, kind of like you guys. You guys market a lot, and I
Yeah.
think exposure and branding and all that are great. But I think personal relationships are huge. Building personal relationships.
It's everything. How do you nurture those relationships? Like, what are some boots on the ground type of tips that you can give to other entrepreneurs out there?
I think for one, you just can't see somebody and then go see them a year later. I think keeping in contact with them, whether that's a phone call or a quick text, let them know you're thinking about them, hoping all is well, and being genuine
Yeah.
and not fake. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Having a genuine relationship and then keeping in touch with that and nurturing it.
Definitely. I'm really impressed by your social media presence. Like, what's your strategy there?
My daughter.
Your daughter?
Yeah, she knows all the electronic stuff. And so, yeah, she does all my social media. Tiffany does some, but we'll send her in videos or pictures of things we find in our inspections. And she'll post it on social media. She adds her own little thing to it.
Yeah.
And she does an amazing job. I really try to do stuff that's interesting or kind of funny. Once in a while, I'll do some personal stuff, but mainly it's about things we find in our inspections.
Yeah.
Because people want to see, like, oh my gosh, they just saw this in a house. And it's-
What are some of the
it's funny.
craziest things you've seen in homes?
I just shot a video not too long ago of a home I went into. I think the people they up and left the day after Christmas. They left all their furniture there, left the food out, everything, but the house was a literal disaster. It was a wreck how they left it. And so I'll take videos like that, or cut trusses in the attic from a guy coming in and putting in a new HVAC system. He'll cut the whole structural truss system out to
boy.
put in an air handler. And yeah, and then the roof starts to sag. And so things like that are what we like to post: leaks, water leaks, sewer scope issues, things like that.
All right, Paul. It's been great learning about your company. You've quite the entrepreneur. You started off on your own, and now you have 11 inspectors inspecting all over the valley. Tell people how they can reach you if they're interested in home inspection.
So yeah, you can reach out several different ways. We respond every day, 7 days a week, but you can contact us at 480-215-7264, or you can simply schedule your home inspection online through strattoninspections.com, or you can text us. Whatever works for you guys. So.
And if they want to find you on social media, see some of these funny posts, where does...
Stratton Inspection Services.
Great. Thanks for your time today, Paul.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
it. Thank you.